Hello and welcome to another episode of Wolfie's Wheels in the short series of quick back-to-back test drives of electric cars. I recently had the opportunity to test 6 different cars all back-to-back all over the same 10-mile route, which incorporated some 20 mile an hour with some fairly severe sleeping policemen, some 30 and 40 mile an hour, some de-restricted B roads and a bit of dual carriageway work. And I drove all the cars in exactly the same way. That is how I would drive the car if I owned it, because I wasn't really interested in pushing the performance envelopes. I just drove them as if I wanted to own one, because let's face it, most of us 90+% of the time, 99% of the time, you're just driving from A to B and you're not in a hurry and you're not seeing how fast it will go round a corner and anything like that. You just want it to take you safely and swiftly from point A to point B without a lot of fuss or discomfort. So that's how I drove the cars. Anyway, today in this film we look at the MG5 Estate, and this is a car I was very much looking forward to drive. And you may think, an MG5 Estate, well, that's a bit of an odd thing to be looking forward to driving. And the reason that I was looking forward to driving it is because I've never really seen one in the flesh before. There are not that many electric estates about on the market, and certainly at this price point there are none. For an electric car, its headline price of around about £30,000 is very much at the cheaper end, and certainly you get an awful lot of bang for your buck. But are they any good? Surely a car at that price point can't be any good and must fall over and rot itself apart in no time at all. But you'd be very wrong on that. There's a company called Cleveland's who run MG5 estates as their daily workshop vehicles, and over on another channel, and I'll put the link in the description below, you've got a guy called James who's actually done 143,000 miles in his MG5 estate in 3 years, and it's fine. You'll see that if you watch the film. There's nothing gone wrong with it. It's a great car. So solid and dependable and good value for money. So I was really looking forward to driving this one. So what did I think of it? Well, I mean, as you can see from these external shots, and again I repeat, as I have in the other films, I was not allowed to do any filming while driving, so all the filming has had to be sort of static shots. It's not a bad looking car at all. It's quite spacious, and certainly the fit and finish of the interior in the main is very good. I was, however, very disappointed in, oddly enough, the steering wheel, because that's your main point of contact with any car, and the steering wheel did feel cheap and a bit nasty. And if they improved that steering wheel, this car would put itself up in a next level of desirability, irrespective of price point. Was it a good car? Well, watch and find out. What did I think of it when I took it out on the road? Well, to be honest with you, I was a little disappointed. I thought it felt a bit sluggish. I didn't like the feel of the steering wheel in my hand, and for an electric car it did seem quite noisy, and of course it being road noise rather than any drivetrain or engine noise, and I was a bit disappointed in that at first. And the more I drove it, the more I thought, well, actually, be fair here, this is a lot of car in electric car terms for the money. It's got a real world range, as you can see from here, of mid 200 miles, and you may scoff at that and say that's nothing, but just bear in mind that on Friday I went out in my car, and this is apart from the first 6 or 7 miles was all on motorways. It took me 3 hours to do 150 miles, and I was ready for a stop by then anyway. In fact, to be fair, I'd already stopped after 2 hours because I needed a pee, but I stopped after 3 hours anyway because that suited me. But yeah, so the fact that your Audi or whatever can do 600 miles, without even filling up, I couldn't care less about. It's an irrelevance. After 3 hours, you might have managed to do about 150 miles, 175 miles, and certainly no more than 200 miles you're probably going to be ready for a stop, and this car would certainly take you that far without blinking an eye. Not a problem at all. So yeah, what did I think of it? As I say, I was kind of a bit disappointed because sat in the car, it felt and looked really nice, apart, as I say, from the steering wheel. And I really would recommend MG. If you are watching this one, you're probably not, but if you could just do something to make that steering wheel feel a bit nicer, and go and have a look at other things like the BYD Seal or even the Hyundai range, and you'll see what I mean. I'm not looking at taking you up into the Polestars and the Teslas and the, things like that, but the more economical end, as it were, of the car market. I'm sure you could improve that steering wheel, and for all I know, I didn't test the MG4, which is a newer incarnation of a car. You may have already resolved that and are not actually doing anything with the 5 anymore. Anyway, moaning aside, the point is, it's a good car. There's no question of that. Yes, it wasn't as fast as I thought it might have been. Yes, it was a bit noisier than I thought it might have been. But come on, be realistic here. It's great value for money. It's proven reliability. As I say, 143,000 miles abused as a workhorse. And that's not an exception. I mean, I think they've got 5 of them on the fleet, and they've all got high mileage, and they all just go on and on and on. So yeah, well, that's good. But what does it cost? Well, as you can see here, the price of the car as I tested it is just over 34,040, and on an 8,000 mile PCP with a £5,000 deposit, you would be paying £400 a month over 4 years, 48 months. But actually MG at the moment are doing interest-free credit, but you do need a slightly higher deposit, so you could put £7,000 down over 3 years and pay 30 quid more, but you're not actually paying any interest, and it's a year shorter. So it's not too bad, but I think the residual balloon payments on these is not terrifically high, and that is why it seems comparatively expensive when you look at the headline price of the car at 35,000 compared with other cars nearer the 50,000. The PCP monthlies are not that different, but it is what it is. See here, in the different trims, the SC Long Range trim does have a better range than the Trophy, but the Trophy is the one that I drove. And as you can see here, there's a bit of everything. It says 235 miles, hoofing it down rural roads, 260 miles, and indeed exclusively motorways, 179 miles, which I found surprisingly low. I think that's probably a bit pessimistic personally. This vehicle does, which is quite unusual, although becoming a bit more commonplace, is vehicle to load charging. And what does that mean? Well, that basically means that you can plug in your own electric devices, such as you can see in this picture, e-scooters or e-bikes or whatever, and charge them off of the car. So if you've got your e-bike with you, shoved in the back of the car, and you go out for a ride, and it runs out of power or it gets low on power by the time you get back, you can actually just plug it into your car and recharge your bike from your car before you go home. So I think that's pretty cool. So overall, in conclusion, did I like the MG5? Well, it was a bit of a mixed blessing, really. I really didn't like the feel of the steering wheel, but apart from that, it was a bit noisy and a bit sluggish, but it is actually an exceptionally good workhorse car. I'm not going to knock this car at all. Would I have one on the drive? Yes, I would. Would I be the envy of my neighbours, the MG of my neighbours, as I said at the beginning? Probably not. It's not that sort of car. It's the sort of car that people have who just want a car that's just going to get on with things and not give you any grief. And this is a good buy for that, in my opinion. So there you go. I quite liked it. I was a bit disappointed, but overall, a thumbs up. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up, share it, tell your mates, and even consider subscribing to the channel perhaps. It doesn't cost you anything, and I don't make anything out of it. And the vast majority, as in about 90% of the views that this channel gets, are from non-subscribers. I don't know. Anyway, be that as it may, if you feel like subscribing, it makes the YouTube algorithms jump up and down with joy and makes the things easier to find. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future episode of our Wolf is Wheels. Bye.